an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Spoil Me, covering Gravity Falls, Season 2, Episode 9, The Love God. In this episode, Mabel and Dipper are just trying to help. Unsurprisingly, they don't. But then, maybe they do. Welcome to Spoil Me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha. Thank you very much to Melanie for commissioning this episode. And happy birthday, Melanie. She is in the chat right now. I'm going to move my mic, everybody. Please forgive me because it's going to sound kind of crazy. Okay. But yeah, thank you very much, Melanie. I'm glad that you were able to get an appointment on your birthday. That's fun. So this episode, Gravity Falls episodes are short enough that I usually get a chance to watch them twice. I did not get that with this episode, which is unfortunate because it might be the funniest episode of the show so far. Might. Like, there have been a couple really good ones. That pool episode was still one of my top faves. But it's pretty fucking close. Like, Owen and I were laughing so hard at one point that he, had to pause it. So I really am looking forward to rewatching this, and I'm a little sad I didn't get the chance. I've just been so busy. But this was super duper fun, and I loved it. So, all right. We start out with the whole gang, and by the whole gang, I do not mean Seuss and Grunkle Stan and Mabel and Dipper. I mean Mabel and Dipper and Wendy and, what is her name? Megan? Something like that. All of Wendy's friends, basically. And they're hanging out at a graveyard, looking up at the sky and talking about what the clouds look like. This is honestly something that I used to do. It's really so on point that I was a little embarrassed. I loved hanging out in graveyards. And it wasn't because I was goth or emo or anything either. It was just really quiet and away from everyone. And there was just this stillness, especially in, when you grow up in areas that are really congested. Like when I grew up, I was in New Haven. It was one of the few places that you could go that wasn't packed with people. Like we had parks and stuff, but the parks, unsurprisingly, drew large crowds. And in New Haven, the Green was the primo spot, especially in the summertime, for having these outdoor concerts and stuff. So it was just the kind of thing that there were not many places to go to be outside, but still be in private a little bit. And also, I started to be fascinated by doing grave rubbings. I don't know how many of you guys did that, but we did it for a class, and it sort of captured my imagination. And so I started to do it more and more. And you would just bring these big sheets of almost newsprint quality paper that were really thin, and you'd bring crayons with the wrapper off and rub them the crayons on their side against the paper that you were holding against a gravestone. And obviously, out here in Texas, gravestones that old are not very easy to find. And in Connecticut, they're just we've got babies going back to the 1600s and almost illegible with the engraved death's head at the top and stuff. Pretty dope looking. So I just was totally somebody who would do this. So anyway, they are hanging around and looking at the clouds, and all of a sudden Mabel notices she says that look, this cloud looks like a heart-shaped balloon. But it is actually a hot air balloon. And they begin to notice like a bunch of them. And this is a signal for the rest of the crew, the Woodstick Festival, which, guys, I adore this. I love this name, the Woodstick. So, yeah, evidently, this is a festival about all of the local, like, up-and-coming indie bands in Oregon. And we have this amazing visual joke of Wendy scrolling through the lineup on her phone of people who are going to be there. And there's a band called Scarves and Doors. I think that might be my favorite one, because the dude in the front just looks sort of uncomfortable and awkward and strange. And there's like the cool black guy in the back with like, he has like a septum piercing and gauges in his ears and the whole thing. Wood grain on everything, which honestly, I feel like these have to, I am guessing, I would like to emphasize that these are all references to specific bands that exist. I don't know jack shit about music, guys. I will be honest. I am not somebody who follows bands. I don't know individual band member names. I don't even know song names. Like, I'll know if you sing like 3 bars of a song, I'll be able to sing practically the entire song back to you, but ask me what the name of the song is or who wrote it, and I have no fucking idea. So yeah, this is like one of those things that I'm like, overall, this joke got to me because it seemed very true, but it was not like, I wasn't getting specific references from it. So I want to make that all clear. And then we see like a short video of the Love God, and he's like bouncing up and down on stage, super excited. Excuse me, I have the hiccups all of a sudden. And like collapses into the camera. And it's a great intro to the Love God because he just seems so inept that the idea that he's genuinely like a love god doesn't even occur to you. And I found that reveal to actually be a little bit surprising. And I feel like maybe I should have seen it coming a little. I don't know how many of you, when you were watching, were like, oh, okay, love god, that's definitely somebody who's actually a god. But it's much, much more than I was expecting in the show. And I'm kind of excited about this twist. So Dipper says that he has never been to a concert before and is feeling a little bit self-conscious about admitting that. And it's just so cute because, like, you're 12, dude. I didn't go to my first concert. Well, I went to a concert, like, probably when I was about 12 with my mom. I went to a Melissa Etheridge concert. But I never, like, that wasn't something that I picked. I wasn't particularly into it. My mom just was going with her friend. And she didn't want to, get a babysitter. And I was old enough and I liked Melissa Etheridge enough. And she was just like, all right, you can come. But the first concert that I actually like went to as a kid, like, or as a teenager, was Dido. And I only went because I won tickets on the radio. And I didn't even have a way to get there. So I had to ask my friends. And I like had to make sure to ask people who had cars so that they could bring me. And other than that, I've been to like 2 concerts and that's it. I am just not a concert goer. I understand the appeal and I get what people like about them. But for me, I really like a variety of music when I like feel like listening to music. And going to see one single artist play only all their stuff, I've never liked one artist enough to really just want to hear only all their music for several hours in a row. So that's where I'm coming from on this. So yeah, Wendy basically is like, well, you never rolled with the awesome crew that we are. So you're definitely going to come with us and hang out with us. Meanwhile, Thompson is over here licking a sponge that they found in the grass. And I can't handle how not only perfect as a character he is, that he's just willing to do whatever, but also that later on, he kind of has this awareness. He knows that that's like, that he wants approval and wants to be involved. Like, he already has the awareness of why he behaves this way. But later on, it turns out that there's like a specific sort of mission there for him, which is keep the crew together and be the guy that is the glue. And this is like almost an act of self-sacrifice that is so sweet in its way, even though it's like self-destructive. And I mean, it might not be self-destructive. It may simply just require a lack of self-respect or a willingness to compromise that self-respect or that pride. But I just kind of enjoy that, like that twist on what I thought he was going to be, you know? So anyway, they get interrupted by the sound of like wailing, and there is an open grave, and they hear it coming from there, and everybody is like, hey, why don't you go look? You go look. No, you go look. And finally they send Thompson to go look and chant, gaze upon death, which I just thought was hilarious. And he peers into this open grave and screams. There is a crack of lightning behind him. And then we go to credits. And it turns out that it is Robbie in the grave. And he is laying there unaware that they're there. And he's holding a picture of Wendy, wailing and saying, why did she leave me? And Wendy is just like, holy shit, dude. Seriously? Like, we have been broken up for a minute now. You need to, like, get it together. What's going on with you holding on like this? He tries to, like, say that he's, like, not even, it's not even about her. Just hanging out in this grave. Regular day for me. And they mention that they haven't seen him in a long time. So apparently he has been avoiding hanging out with everybody. And Wendy's, you know, he tries to hide that he has the picture of her and everything, even though they've been standing there for like a minute. And he says, it's really sweet you'd throw yourself in a grave for me, but it's time to move on. And he says, what? I've totally moved on. And as he says it, his ringtone goes off. And it just says, Wendy, I love you forever. I'll never move on. I love this. I love on the nose jokes like that. Like, I know that they're so corny and they can get a little old if you do them too often, but this show does not do that. And that moment of just, it's great. It's great. And he like chucks his phone and then says, that was a different Wendy, unrelated Wendy. So they all just begin to walk away and leave Robbie there in his humiliation. But Mabel can't really handle seeing him so sad. She's like, he's in pain. We can't just ditch him here. And I agree totally with Dipper here, where he says, come on, Mabel, it's Robbie. You know, Mabel, I really do respect you just wanting everybody to be happy. I'm not mad at you for that. But Robbie could not give fewer shits about anybody but himself. And he has been like a huge bully. He actually tried to mind control Wendy that one time, which I guess we're just all going to pretend never happened. And generally has been a bad guy. I don't care if he's unhappy, but she is just unable to enjoy herself if she knows that there is somebody out there so miserable that they literally have a shovel full of grave dirt that they're pouring onto their own head. Which, okay, I guess I get it. So yeah, Dipper says, if there's one thing I've learned this summer, it's not to get mixed up in needless romantic drama. We're finally in with Wendy's friends, and with Robbie gone, there's a good social balance. Maybe we should just let a good thing be, you know? And Mabel is like considering it, but turns around to see an actual vulture attacking Robbie in his grave, and it's clear that she can't quite let it go. And Mabel decides that what we need to do is just find Robbie a new girl. She says that romance is like gum. When the first one loses its flavor, you just have to cram another one in. You know, I want to say that that's not true, but there isn't no truth in it, you know? And then she's talking about what a great matchmaker she is. And she says Waddles and Gompers. And we see Waddles and the goat. I don't think we knew this goat's name was Gompers. But we see them duct taped together. Waddles is wearing a little top hat. And Gompers is wearing a veil. And they have cans attached to their hindquarters. And a little banner that says just married that they're dragging around. It's deeply disturbing. Oh my God. So yeah, Wendy understandably is just like, I just don't think you really understand how this works. And I, you know, you really shouldn't mess with it. You just don't have the experience to understand. And Mabel hears that as a challenge. Meanwhile, outside, Grunkle Stan is gluing a multicolored afro wig for a clown onto a white gorilla and humming to himself when all of a sudden these people start showing up. He is very aware of what the Woodstick Festival is and is not at all interested. He is like anti-hippie to the max. He's got a real boomer attitude here. I guess boomers were hippies though, weren't they? Like, you have to go back a little bit further. Were boomers hippies? No. Well, they're a little bit too old to be hippies. They would have been, I guess, well, you get what I'm saying. But Seuss comes running out and manages to stop him and tells him, you know, every year the festival is something that you try and avoid and act as if it's this scourge, but you have to figure out something to tap into this market because you have so many potential customers here that you're not taking advantage of. So yeah, find something that appeals to them. And, you know, so Grunkle Stan is trying to make a play here, some sort of marketing move. And he decides that he's going to make a hot air balloon. Y'all, I can't decide if I want to talk about it all right now or if I want to wait. I think I want to wait. But that whole thing I thought was going to be like a side plot that was like funny, but not really that big a deal. And it turned out to like be the thing. I just really underestimated the potential there. And it was just so good. Okay. So Mabel goes to the funeral home, which I did not realize was where Robbie's parents work. And apparently his last name is Valentino, which is something like, there's something so like extra adorable about the fact that his name is Valentino, which like is just a bit like Valentine, and she's trying to do this matchmaking thing, and there's the love god. Like, did this episode originally air near Valentine's Day? I feel like it had to have, right? Like, this is too much altogether. But anyway, his parents answer the door, and they are like the most Midwestern feeling like all American apple pie 50s family TV show kind of couple, except that they own a funeral home. The husband is drinking from a coffee mug that says coffin break. And behind them on the wall is a painting of a graveyard. It's a painting of a graveyard. It's not like, oh, here's a beautiful meadow, or here is a still of like the beach and cliffs. It's a graveyard. I love these guys so much. So of course, Mabel is very startled at the fact that his parents are so cheerful. And they make a lot of really morbid jokes, but are extremely cheery when telling them. The whole thing is just wonderful. So his mother yells up the stairs to try and get Robbie's attention. And she yells, Robbie Stacy Valentino. He's real lucky that it's only Mabel that heard that. I don't know how many other people are aware that his middle name is Stacy, but I feel like that would not be something he would get away from. I don't think you escape that with the kind of like persona you try to cultivate as a Robbie. I don't think you escape having the middle name Stacy unscathed. So Mabel goes upstairs to bring him his lunch, which is a pile of spaghetti made into a happy face with the 2 meatballs for eyes and sauce for a smiley mouth. And Mabel takes it upstairs, and as she's leaving, they're joking about how one of the dead bodies that they're working on would look really great in the sweater that Mabel's wearing. Oh my God. Another painting of a graveyard upstairs, and then we begin like crossing past the pictures, the photos, the school photos of Robbie. And honestly, it's a pretty great joke because you see him as just a little kid and slowly growing up into an adolescent. And then you have one picture of him that's like, he's covered in zits, really, really bad acne. And then eventually we get to present day Robbie, who has slightly less acne, but it's still pretty bad. And his door is just covered in posters and scuff marks, and there's like a ninja star embedded in it at one spot. It's pretty funny. And she comes into his room, and it is a disaster, and he is very resistant to her being here. I really like the joke too of the muffin on the wall, which is supposed to be like a mushroom cloud, I guess, like an explosion that he painted on the water tower at like the beginning of season 1. And that's in his, in his room all over again. He doesn't want to talk to her because she's related to Dipper, who he feels ruins everything. And she's like, listen, I'm going to talk to you about how I hated you and I thought that you were really pathetic. But now I'm starting to realize that you are in pain and you need some help. You just need a good matchmaker. I guarantee I'll find you true love or twice your sadness back. That's a pretty good one. He says, if I say yes, will you leave the room? So she goes to this like big schematic that she has. She's first of all wearing big heart-shaped sunglasses as she looks down on a town that she has built with little figures to represent each of the people in the town. Pretty well done figures, I may add. I appreciate the work that went into this. So she's trying to figure out who to take on and off the board. She uses the multi-bear at one point as an option. I'm putting you in the maybe pile. Grunkle Stan is under future matches. It's pretty good. So then she's like, who could be superficial and gothy enough? And she realizes Tambry. The two really are America's favorite power couple. I don't know what possessed her. There is no way this works. Like, it's just not... I mean, Tambry isn't interested in anybody, I don't think, unless they have an enormous social media presence, right? I guess, like, that would be her ideal dude, is a guy that she can hang out with and be on her phone the entire time. And he also would be, and the two of them just communicate that way, and they don't need to, like, do any sort of, like, face-to-face kind of thing. I feel like that is, at the moment, what she would be the most into. And you know what? Like, I'm not even judging her for that, because there are times where that, like, you just want something easy with somebody that you, like, don't hate being around, but, you know, it's fine. So everybody is hanging out, and they are taping snacks to Thompson in order to sneak them into the festival. I don't know how this is supposed to work, because they're taped all over his body, including his head, but they all seem very impressed with Dipper's idea. And one of them, I can't remember his name, but the blonde one comes up to Dipper and says, "I sense greatness in you." And Dipper doesn't want to admit it, but he is very much like Thompson. He just wants to be a part of things. And the fact that they are including him so much is really kind of getting to him, you know? He's just like, this is exactly the kind of crew that he wants to hang with. All I can think in these moments is just like, what happens at the end of the summer when they go home again? Then what? You know, I just really, I don't even want to think about it. So Tambry is like sitting there playing with her phone. The one dude with the skull shirt runs by and says, "Don't wait up, Tambers." And she says, "Don't call me Tambers." And he laughs and says, "Classic Tambers." And we find out later that he has got a crush on her, and has for a little bit. A tip from me to y'all: if the girl that you have a crush on tells you not to call her the thing that she doesn't want to be called, it may help your odds if you don't call her that. I'm just saying. It's just a tip. So she's sitting there and she gets a text that says, like, "Bring your hot bod." And it's like ends with "your secret admirer." So we go to the diner, and Mabel is sitting there watching the whole proceeding to try and gauge how it's going. And Robbie is sitting at a table waiting for Tambers, and she cannot believe it that he's the one who was asking to see you. And it's a moment of just, because she thinks that he sent the text because he wants to see her. And he, you know, once he reacts and says, "Oh, this is what I get for trusting a toddler," it's clear that he didn't even send it. He isn't, like, interested. This is not something that either of them wants. And he says something about how dating somebody that he already knows is like admitting defeat. And that if they get real with each other, if I wanted to date you, I would have done it already. I'm just a little out of your league. And then he says, "Oh, is that mustard?" that he sees, like, he put his elbow in, and starts licking the elbow of his sweatshirt. It is so, 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 so gross. It is so gross. It is so gross that it shouldn't bother me, like, in a cartoon, but it's horrifying, and I hate it so much. So the two things are not going well. Mabel watches this and is just completely, like, blown away that this didn't go how she expected. And I'm just like, girl, are you thinking at all? And then they get interrupted by the love god, who comes in. "Who's ready to fall in love tonight? We're rewriting history, and it starts with you and you." And he points at two people, and they just start making out. and he's shouting, "Love is real and it's in your face." And he goes up to this old woman and he says, "Meredith, we've got a problem. That cutie right there is your soulmate and you're living without him." And it's this old man sitting at the counter eating a sandwich. And she says, "What should I do?" And he says, "Get it, girl. You know what you love." And there's all this glitter. She runs over to the guy and literally picks him up, and it's the best. And Mabel is watching all of this, and she is just like, okay, I need to do that. This is all I ever wanted. Everybody is instantly falling in love with each other. There is glitter flying through the air when it happens. He's yelling "match made" the way that I do, except with him, it's genuinely happening. So she goes to see him. He's eating a sandwich in the messiest way I've ever seen. And she says, "Can you please tell me your secret?" And he says, "Between you and me, let's just say my name's not exactly a coincidence." And his wings bounce up and down as he says that. So he is a cherub, it turns out. And he has this backpack that's designed to look like his wings are just coming out of the backpack. But really, it's just covering up the place where his wings actually attach to his body, which is the most genius thing. And I can't believe nobody has thought of something like that for any of the movies where somebody has wings and is trying to hide them. It's always like, oh, we need to get you a big overcoat. But what if we made it like a gimmick and there was a backpack? I love this. I love this so much. So he says that the internet does its job for him nowadays. So he's taking time off to work on his rock career. He hands Mabel a tape, which she's like, "Oh, that's really interesting," and immediately drops it into the garbage. And she is challenging him to make this badger and snake fall in love with each other. I like to think that this is a Slytherin Hufflepuff metaphor. But yeah, he points at them and immediately the snake wraps itself in a very affectionate way around the badger, and they run off into the woods and are very happy together. And I'm just like, I guess. But yeah, he's got summer love, young love, anti-love. Just got to put a little on your finger and pow. And she wants to know how much would it cost, because she just, wants a little bit of it. And he's like, dude, first of all, I'm not selling my stuff. But second of all, you aren't a god and you don't actually know what's best for people, even though you might think you do. And you also underestimate the kinds of social consequences that can happen as a result of messing with people like this. So he is in the middle of explaining to her why he can't do this. When they get interrupted by a fan, he turns around and she takes one of the bottles off of his little belt. And she goes behind the counter at the diner and asks if she can add something to the chili fries. And the cook is totally fine with that, evidently. So we go to the table. Robbie and Tambers both eat these fries and are immediately totally into one another. It worked like a charm. You wouldn't want to maybe go out and, I don't know, go kiss in public a lot? For some reason, I do. Status update. You know what? Forget it. Maybe I should stare at something other than my phone for a while. And she leaves her phone on the counter, which honestly, that's just bad. That's just a bad idea. You can choose not to look at your phone, but not leave your phone. What are you doing, girl? That's crazy. But that's how in love she is. She's crazy. So then we cut back to the rest of the crew. And Wendy is wearing this bonkers, it's so exactly correct. She's wearing these cut off jean shorts, a crop top, a scarf for some reason with all of that, cowboy boots, these leather bracelet cuff things, and a hairband that's vaguely sort of tribal looking. you know what? I want to say something here. I love the fact that Wendy is not sexualized. You know, she's in this, like, these tiny shorts and crop top, and they could have drawn her to be a little bit voluptuous. They could have tried to, like, make this look sexy. They don't at all. She's, you know, just very cartoony looking, and there's nothing suggestive about it. And it's really nice because I just feel like there are so many cartoons where they won't do that with any character. Like, none of the characters for none of them does it seem to be a priority to make them look attractive, except for like the one main girl character that they really emphasize has an hourglass figure or whatever. And obviously they're not going to do that with Mabel because she's too young. So Wendy's the next thing. And I just, you know, it's one of those, like, I don't realize how much I take for granted that that is how it's going to work until I see it not done that way. And then I'm like, oh, wow, I appreciate you. So she's yelling, who's ready for the best and most overpriced day of our summer? And Tom said, I brought what does he say? I brought a bag of trail mix in case we get hungry and safety whistles for in case we get separated. And Dipper clears his throat and says Lee. And the two boys start cracking up. Guys, I don't really get this one. Can y'all help me? I don't really understand what it was that Dipper was trying to say that was like supposed... Is it supposed to be that we don't get the joke? Because I guess I could see that it's like supposed to indicate there is an inside joke that has been created amongst Dipper and these other guys that we as an audience don't even know yet, and that it's being pointed out that we don't know. And I kind of, if that's the way what this was, I actually like that. But I am not sure if I sort of missed something here. And I should mention also that Dipper is wearing like a V-neck t-shirt with like a vest over it and sunglasses pushed up. Just has like obviously totally changed his whole look and is really feeling the fact that everybody seems to really like him. So they say something about how they're waiting for Tambry, the one dude who has a crush on her, and that they can't leave without her. And Mabel shows up and says Tambry's a little busy. She and Robbie took a trip to Smoochville. And she says this very excited and shows him the picture of the like chart she has of is everybody happy. And this kid immediately says, hold on a second. Are you serious? Robbie knows that I liked her. How could he do this? To which his other friend says, you told Robbie you like her, but you didn't tell me. And he says, you always make fun of my crushes, man. And he says, that's what we do, genius, and smacks him in the head. Meanwhile, Wendy is like, are you kidding me? Tambry is dating my ex-boyfriend? I can't believe that she would do that to me. And then says, I'm going to rip her highlights out. This is a really great, and this is something that I never really understood growing up, why things were like this. I mean, I did because I understood like just how sort of, all right, let me get to the fucking point of what I'm saying first. So when you're in school, there are going to be cliques, right? And depending on the kind of school you go to, those cliques are going to be extremely different. But there were cliques that would hang out a lot together. Like they would always have, for me, the clique that I was in, we would hang out a lot at school, but we weren't really hanging out outside of school. The kids that hung out outside of school a lot were the richer kids. And I don't know why that is, if it's just that their families like had more leisure time, more money to host events, or what it was. But there was this particular clique of slightly richer kids who all dated within that little group and would break up and then start dating somebody else from within that same group. And it always mystified me because, like, first of all, to be honest, I couldn't see a difference between a lot of the boys. They all just seemed so similar to one another. So there was that where I was just like, dating one is much like dating the other. But mostly what I was always weirded out by is the fact that you are dating somebody that your friend was dating and either at the very least making out with, by junior year, likely sleeping with also. And I couldn't imagine being with somebody that had been with my friend. It was just too weird to me. And it was so common among these cliques to just like kind of mix and match with whoever. And it's not like I think that that's like immoral or anything. It was just something that as a person, I just couldn't see myself being okay with. And it really surprised me how many like people apparently were. And this is exactly the sort of thing I was expecting to happen much more often, but it didn't. It was just, people seemed to be fine with it. So anyway, everybody says that they're not going with to the concert because each of them is mad at everybody else. And Thompson starts yelling, wait, this group is all I have. Don't make me go back to having no friends, and runs after them. Oh, it was so sad. I felt so bad. So he turns around and starts screaming at Mabel. I've let these guys, what did you do? I love that his chips are falling off him as he said this. I've let these guys pick on me for years just to keep this group together, and now they've totally fallen apart. And Dipper says, but we were all starting to hang out together. I was one of the gang. And he says, unless you can break Robbie and Tambry up immediately, there is no gang. I have no more friends, and neither do you. So, of course, Dipper's really upset. And she is like, I know, I was trying to make him happy. I never should have like done this thing with the love potion. And Dipper's like, well, if you use something to do this, then undo it. Can't you just like fix it? And she's like, yeah, you know what? But I will need your help to get the anti-love potion. And then says, oh, and by the way, that V-neck is not working for you, and yells at him to burn it. Listen, I think Dipper looks great. Mabel, he doesn't look like what you're used to him looking like. That doesn't mean he doesn't look good. It's a good outfit. I like it. What can I say? Melanie says trivia. The old lady Meredith was originally going to fall in love with another old lady. Oh, but Disney intervened. Fucking Disney. Come on. That's annoying. And she says, I think it is the case where it's an inside joke of an inside joke. Cool. Okay. If that's what it is, then I like it. I just didn't quite get it. So we go to the festival. Now, again, full disclosure, I have never been to one of these sorts of things. I can only assume, how accurate this whole thing is, but we see lots of different booths for henna and getting like caricatures done, and people selling like blankets and things, drums. And there's a dude walking around on like stilts wearing American flag pants and star sunglasses. It's oh my God, wait a second. I feel like I just saw something that I didn't see the first time. There's so much happening in this scene that I could be wrong about this. Guys, did I just see the clones hiding behind a garbage can? Why are they there? Melanie says, yup. What are they doing here? What's going on? That doesn't come up again, does it? They're eating. Oh my God, I forgot they eat out of the garbage. Oh my God. 'Cause they're like raccoons. Oh my God. Why is this show so good? I'm so mad right now. I can't believe I didn't even notice that the first time. And it's such a quick flash. Even watching it again, I wasn't entirely positive that I saw what I saw. Wow. Okay, that is amazing. So Grunkle Stan is saying we need this balloon in the air before the festival ends. Seuss is saying, are you sure that we should have that flame that close to the dangling cloth and rope? And Grunkle Stan just says, I'm sure about everything. Now lube up those engine gears with some more kerosene. And you can see Seuss's face. Like, this guy, Seuss is a bit of an engineer. He knows better, but he can't argue with Grunkle Stan. So we go to Mabel and Dipper, who are trying to sneak past security to get into the festival. There's this like huge poster for a band that we do meet later called the Handlebar Brothers, who all have these enormous handlebar mustaches that are literally tied together. It's amazing. And I like Thompson is saying that he sold his watch to get tickets to try and like get into the concert. Can't you just all put your differences aside and just go in? And Robbie and Tambry are walking by with their arms around one another, and all of them say, what? So we have to just look at that the whole time? Absolutely not. And they walk away. So they have to track down the love god to get this potion out. And love god's about to get crazy, and he leaves his like little bottles in the truck by themselves, which is just a very bad idea. And she's going through them looking at the I'm going to read what she says as she's looking, because they're apparently labeled. Let's see. Puppy love, interspecies love, love of country music, and then comes to ew, and I think she's saying ew into love of country music rather than the interspecies love, which, listen, I don't dislike country, okay? Country's fine if it's like classic, but modern pop country is some of the worst music I will ever hear. It's so awful. So in that sense, I agree. Simply spray on your victim and watch their heart die on the inside. Sounds good to me. So they're about to walk away with it. And the love god says, oh, you're the one that's stealing my stuff. And she tries to say, I'm trying to fix a mistake. And he says, that stuff is too dangerous. As my oath on a god, I cannot allow you. And he's in the middle of his monologue and looks up and realizes that they have taken their opportunity to run off. So they try to escape from him. She tosses the bottle to Dipper, who runs up unwittingly onto the stage of the Handlebar Brothers. And they gather, their fucking mustaches are tied together. They gather around them in like a wall. We mustache you to move. Oh my God, I hate you guys so much. They crowd surf into the crowd off of the stage. And I love the differences in the way this works. Mabel is crowd surfing like effortlessly and just being like, oh, thanks guys. Yeah, no, appreciate it. Great. Meanwhile, poor Dipper is bouncing all over his body and going, no, everybody's touching everything. No. And I found that hilarious and feels much more accurate to how I would feel were that to happen to me. I would hate it. So finally, the love god decides to go airborne, and he hasn't used his wings in a minute, so it takes a second. So he's chasing after them in the air, and Mabel pours the love potion into a spray bottle, and she is ready to get it, like, right into their faces because Tambry and Robbie are sitting right there. And the love god says, visions of love's past, and throws some powder in the air. And it's we see the guy group. What are they called again? Another time? Once more? Several times, right? And we have this, and we have the guy that she gave the paper, do you like me? Yes, totally, absolutely, I think are the three choices. they all show up, as well as like the guy who was actually a bunch of gnomes, puppet guy, Mermando. It is a who's who of guys Mabel's had a crush on. Dipper thinks that there's no way Mabel can fall for this, but once the smoke clears, he sees her totally like in there. Even Alexander Hamilton, if I'm not mistaken, is he the one on the $10 bill? Is here because she like had a crush on the guy on the $10 bill as a kid, which is hilarious. So they're all like, give us the bottle, Mabel. And she can't see that it's actually the love god standing there and does not listen to Dipper. And she hands over the bottle and ruins their whole plan. We jump from there to Grunkle Stan and Sue's still working on the balloon. And it's a giant Grunkle Stan head. And it says, I heart kids over the top, like a banner that's floating over it. And he says, this will get it across that I love the young people. And as Seuss lets go, he says, oh no, a letter rip, and tries to stop it. The H and the R come flying off. I'm not ready, guys. This image is about to come up on the screen because I watched the episode while I'm recording, and I gotta warn you. We see this shadow looming over the festival goers, and everybody looks up, and it's this... oh my god. It's this fucking deranged looking Grunkle Stan. I can't. And the letters that fell off mean that now it says, I eat kids. Guys, I can't get over how hilarious this is. I wish y'all could have seen the way that Owen and I reacted when we saw this, because I swear to God, and it only gets funnier because eventually, spoilers, it catches fire. And I really, when I first saw this, I thought it couldn't get funnier than that. I was so wrong. Y'all, this is one of the most beautiful things. I don't know who like designed it, who was the one that like came up with exactly how this was going to look, but it is just so perfect because it's like a combination of the really bad like craftsmanship, but also like just enough looking actually like Grunkle Stan that you totally get what he was trying to do. And then like the patchwork aspects and the eyes facing in the wrong directions, and then having had it say I heart kids and the letters falling off. All of this is just the most perfect joke. It's so good. It's heaven's punishment for our terrible taste in everything. So it catches fire, and spoilers, when it catches fire, Owen took the still of it and he made that his banner image on Facebook. That's how much he loved it. Mommy, is the floating head going to eat us? Yes, Charlie. Yes, he will. Oh my God, y'all. I can't. It's too good. It's too good. The way it approaches them and the way the light is done so that it's genuinely like looks like a horror movie kind of moment as it comes at them. It's so good. I'm screenshotting right now this guy heading for the mom and her son, because this really, like, Owen had the other one as his banner image, but I'm like, this one really should be the banner image. Or he could do like a combo, like a 1-2. But the way this one in particular is set up, I don't use show images usually when I post these episodes to the feed. I usually just use like the logo that I created because it's too hard to find images for everything. But this is one that I might make an exception for and use this image for, because it is just so perfect. And I'm sending this to Owen right now and hoping that he appreciates that I did this for him just now. Guys, I really do think this show has had a lot of really great jokes. It's had a lot of like hysterical recurring jokes that I love come back. I don't know if anything's going to beat this. It is so insane. Oh, what an amazing thing. So we have Mabel giving up the bottle, and the love god says, "This is what you get when you mess with the gods, only a greater being than himself." And he's saying, like, you know, talking about how nobody can beat him. And then all of a sudden, here comes the balloon, and it like crushes him. He's, I think, fine at the end, right? But they are able to take the bottle back. There's a little aside where Robbie's parents are looking, and his dad says, "Oh, I sure hope nobody died." And his mom says, "Yes, that would be awful." Oh my God. These two cheery people are the scariest in the show. By far. Fuck. So everybody sees Grunkle Stan, starts pointing at him that he's the horrible old man from the sky. And he realizes, you know what? Maybe I don't even need to worry about getting their dollars and, you know, appealing to them. All I need is to know that they're terrified of me, and that's enough for me. So the love god crawls out from under the balloon. He says, "Fine, take it. You want to play God? Go ahead. I'm sick of it." And he walks away, and they go to behind a bush, and they're about to hit Tambry and Robbie with this gun, right? With this little water gun full of anti-love potion. And he turns around and he sees them, and he comes up to Mabel and says, "I just wanted to thank you. I've been so miserable since Wendy broke up with me that I thought my life was over. But you were right. I just needed to move on. And I'm happy. Weird, huh?" And it's a really, like, honestly, kind of sweet moment, even though I don't really want to care if Robbie's happy, to be honest. And she decides that maybe she doesn't want to undo the love potion. Now, this is the thing. It's not real. So I'm not totally sure how I feel about this, because he's like, you know, she's like, we're messing with people's fates and it's only making things worse. Maybe we should just leave this alone. They kind of are perfect for each other in a gross kind of way. And I'm like, I suppose I just don't really, I don't know. You know, the fact that this is just something that was done to them, I don't really know if I'm cool about it, but I guess it doesn't matter because it's happening. So they go back to the rest of the crew to try and see if they can, like, pull things back together with everybody else. And Thompson has made a friendship cake. It's really cute. One of them throws a ball in his face and they make him drop the cake. But when he bends over to try and, like, pick it up, his coat tears and all of the snacks are exposed on him. And so he runs away from security up a pole, and he happens to have this, like, bear sort of, like, hat on. And so he's climbing up this pole, and he just looks like a little bear cub trying to hide. And it brings everybody back together again, and they start cheering for Thompson to get away from security, and security's hitting them with brooms, like almost like he's a piñata, and there are snacks falling off of him. And everybody has this moment of cheering for Thompson and then looking at one another and giving each other sort of like cautious smiles and realizing that maybe they're going to be friends again after all. And I just love how this all worked out in the end, even though I'm not 100% about these two being, like, forced together. I do really like everybody sort of getting over it. And then there's this ridiculous, I'm trying to remember exactly what it's called when you turn the page, because there's like a scrapbook that is playing over the ending credits. Waddles and Gompers the Big Day. That's what it says. And it's a bunch of like photos of Mabel taping them together and the fake like wedding that Grunkle Stan officiates. It is so amazing. And there's like this song playing over it. Such a beautiful goat and pig bound in matrimony forever. There's a picture of Seuss shoving Wendy out of the way to catch the bouquet. Like, it's great. It's wonderful. I love it. Goat and a pig, goat and a pig. And that is the end of the episode. So yeah, this was a really fun one. Melanie says, Blind Ivan / Toot Toot is hidden in the festival scenes, which is fun. Blind Ivan? Which one? Who is Blind Ivan? I've already forgotten. Toot Toot. Oh, Blind Ivan's the guy from the Blind Eye Society, right? I don't remember who Toot Toot is, though, because Toot Toot, all I can think when I hear that name is Toot Toot from the Dresden Files. And I really like how during this episode we get an update on Seuss and Melody, even if it's small. Yeah, true. They're still talking to each other. They're doing like a FaceTime or Skype or something. And that was really cute. So Toot Toot is his new name since he lost his memory. Right! I forgot that was what they did. That's funny. So, okay, yeah, I'm going to wrap. This was really fun, though. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Melanie. I almost called you Melody because I was like looking at your comment. Thank you, Melanie, for commissioning this. And again, happy birthday. I hope you have a lovely time. And we will be seeing you again soon, guys, with a new episode. Until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.